That day did not begin like a miracle. It began like a burden, like something heavy sitting on the chest of the world, something invisible yet undeniable, as if the air itself carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken prayers, and people were not just walking along the road, they were being pulled toward it, drawn by something they could not fully explain, something deeper than curiosity, something stronger than logic. Because when pain stays too long in a person's life, it begins to search for answers on its own. And that is what filled the streets that day. Not just people, but stories, broken stories, tired stories, stories that had reached the edge of hope and were now holding on to the smallest possibility that maybe, just maybe, something could finally change. And in the center of it all, moving calmly, almost untouched by the chaos around him, was Jesus Christ. He did not rush. He did not react to the noise. He walked with a stillness that felt out of place in a restless world, as if he was not being carried by the moment, but instead, the moment itself was moving around him, and people followed him not just because of the miracles they had heard about, not just because of the blind who could now see, or the broken who could now stand, but because of something they felt when they were near him, a presence that made their pain feel understood before they even spoke, a quiet assurance that maybe they were not as alone as they had believed. The crowd tightened with every step. Voices overlapped, desperate and urgent. "Please, look at me. Heal my son. Just one moment." Hands reached from every direction, brushing against him, pulling at his garment, trying to capture his attention, trying to secure a piece of hope before it disappeared again, because life had taught them something cruel, that opportunities don't always come twice, and when they do, you hold on with everything you have. Dust rose into the air, mixing with the heat, the movement, the tension of expectation. It felt like something was about to happen. Not just another miracle, but something deeper, something personal. And yet, hidden within that overwhelming scene was a silence. A quiet existence that no one noticed. A life that had learned to stay small. There was a woman, not standing out, not calling for attention, not even daring to lift her eyes. Because for 12 long years, life had slowly erased her. Not in a single moment, not in one sudden tragedy, but little by little, piece by piece, until the person she once was became a distant memory, replaced by something the world could ignore more easily. Her pain was constant, unrelenting. But it wasn't just the pain that broke her. It was what came with it, the way people looked at her, or worse, the way they stopped looking at her. The whispers, the distance, the silent rejection, as if her suffering had turned her into something untouchable, something to be avoided, something less than human. And over time, she believed it. Because when the world repeats something long enough, it begins to sound like truth. 12 years of searching for healing, 12 years of spending everything she had, chasing promises that led nowhere, 12 years of hoping and losing, until hope itself felt dangerous, because hoping meant risking disappointment again, and she had already been disappointed too many times. But still, deep beneath the exhaustion, beneath the fear, beneath the quiet acceptance of a life that no longer changed, there was something alive, something small, something fragile, but something real. A whisper. What if he is different? It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Because sometimes the quietest belief is the strongest one. And so she came. Not as someone expecting a miracle, but as someone who had nothing left to lose. The crowd was overwhelming, bodies pressing from every side, noise filling every space, movement that left no room for hesitation. And yet, she moved through it. Carefully, slowly, almost invisibly, because when you have lived unseen for so long, you learn how to move without being noticed, how to exist without disturbing others, how to carry your pain quietly so that no one has to acknowledge it. But this time, she wasn't just moving through the crowd. She was moving toward something, toward him. And all she held on to was one thought, simple, clear, unshaken. If I just touch him, I will be healed. Not speak, not be seen, not be known. Just touch. Because sometimes, faith is not loud. Sometimes it does not stand in front of everyone and declare itself. Sometimes faith is quiet, hidden, almost invisible, but powerful. The crowd pressed harder. Voices grew louder. Even his disciples struggled to keep control. People reaching, pushing, calling, desperate for attention. And in the middle of all that noise, she reached forward. Her hand trembled. Her breath caught in her chest. Time seemed to slow, as if the entire world was holding its breath with her. And then, her fingers touched the edge of his garment. A moment so small, it could have been missed. A touch so light, it could have been ignored. But it wasn't. Because in that exact instant, something shifted. Not outside, inside. Like darkness giving way to light. Like chains breaking without a sound. Like a storm suddenly replaced by peace. Healing, complete, instant, undeniable. And just as quickly as it happened, he stopped. Jesus Christ stood still, in the middle of movement, in the middle of noise, in the middle of urgency. Still, the crowd didn't understand. They continued for a moment, confused by the sudden pause. And then he turned, slowly, intentionally. Who touched me? The question cut through the noise, not loud, but powerful. The disciples looked around, overwhelmed. Lord, everyone is touching you. But he knew. No, someone reached me. And in that moment, the woman froze. Fear returned like a wave. Because being seen meant risk. Being known meant exposure. And she had survived for years by staying hidden. But something had changed. Something inside her was no longer the same. Because when you experience healing, you cannot go back to being who you were before. Slowly, trembling, she stepped forward and fell at his feet, tears breaking through years of silence. Words pouring out that had been held back for too long. She told everything. The pain, the years, the rejection, the loneliness, the nights no one saw, the prayers no one heard. And for the first time, the crowd listened. They didn't push. They didn't interrupt. They didn't ignore. They saw her. And then, he spoke. Daughter. One word. But it changed everything. Because he didn't call her by her condition. He didn't define her by her past. He didn't see her the way the world did. He saw her for who she truly was. Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. And in that moment, she didn't just receive healing. She received restoration, identity, belonging, love. She was no longer invisible, no longer forgotten, no longer broken. She was whole. The crowd began to move again. Noise returned. Life continued. People still chasing miracles, still searching, still hoping. But something greater had already happened. Because that day proved something powerful. That you can be surrounded by thousands and still be the one who reaches Him. That you can be unseen by the world and still be seen by God. That your pain, no matter how long it has lasted, does not define your ending. And maybe, just maybe, you are not that different from her. Maybe you have felt unseen, unheard, forgotten. Maybe you have waited, and nothing changed. Maybe your faith feels small, weak, tired. But listen carefully. You don't need perfect faith. You don't need perfect strength. You don't need the crowd. You just need to reach. Even if your hand is shaking, even if your heart is unsure, even if your voice is silent. Because sometimes, the smallest touch stops heaven.